All right, today we're doing lesson 7.3, which has two parts: arithmetic with functions. So arithmetic is like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. And then the second part is composition of functions, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. So today we're just going to worry about the arithmetic. So we've talked about function notation earlier this year, where we can say f of x and g of x, and that allows us to name more than one function. Instead of always saying y equals, y equals, y equals, we can be more specific and say we're going to call this function f and this function g, and then we can do different things with them, like add them, subtract them, multiply them, divide them, and we could call our answer h. Okay? Then we have a new concept, domain. Domain we did define earlier this year. We said that the domain is the input values. So input is typically x, what goes into the equation. So our question with domain is going to be, what are we allowed to plug in for x? There will be two questions we'll consider when we think about domain. What we're going to do is go through the first 4 examples on your notes, and we're going to go through them twice. We're going to go through them a first time just doing the arithmetic, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing for them. Then we're going to go back to the beginning of the notes and talk about domain all at once. Okay? The arithmetic will probably be fairly comfortable for you. It's what we've done before. The domain will probably be fairly uncomfortable for you. Be patient, stick with it, ask questions, and you'll get it. So when we add the function g, f is 2x to the 1/2. G is negative 6x to the 1/2. When we're adding and subtracting, we're usually thinking about combining like terms. Are those like terms? Yeah, they have the same variable, x, the same exponent, 1/2. So if I have 2 of them and negative 6 of them, how many do I have when I put them together? Negative 4, x to the 1/2. And that's our answer for the addition portion. We'll worry about the domain after we've done all 4 examples. For subtracting, we're going to say f is still, just like it was on the last one, 2x to the 1/2. G is negative 6x to the 1/2. Double negative, I'm really doing what? Adding. Combine up the like terms, and I get 8x to the 1/2. Parentheses are really important when you're subtracting. They're not as important when you're adding, but when you're subtracting, they can make a huge difference. So as a side note, let's say that f of x was x squared plus 4x. And g of x is 2x squared plus 1. If I do f of x minus g of x, f of x is x squared plus 4x, minus g of x is 2x squared plus 1. Why do the parentheses make a difference there? Because I have to distribute the negative. So if you don't include parentheses, you're going to end up getting a sign wrong because you need to distribute this negative through to that second group. Okay? So parentheses are really important when you're subtracting, not as important when you're adding, because distributing a positive is really no big deal. Okay? But be careful when you're subtracting. For multiplying, parentheses are again going to be important because, like on that last example, if I group up, this time you need to group up the whole first group and the whole second group, then we would need to do some foiling. Okay, so parentheses are going to be important when subtracting and when you're multiplying. So if I do 3x times x to the 1/4, I don't have any distributing to do because I don't have more than one term. We can multiply coefficients. 3 times 1 gives 3. What do we do with the exponents when we're multiplying? Add them. What's the exponent of that first x? 1. So what do I get? 5/4. Okay? So we can multiply the coefficients, 3 times 1. We can add the exponents, 1 plus 1/4, and we need a common denominator there, so 4/4. Add the 1 gives us 5/4. And our last example is division. When we divide, parentheses aren't really necessary because that big division bar kind of acts like parentheses. So I've got 3x over x to the 1/4. We can divide the coefficients. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. And what's our rule for division? What do?
You
Subtract the exponents. So that first one has a power of 1. 1 minus 1/4 is 3/4. So our answer is x to the 3/4. 3 times x to the 3/4. Okay? Questions on adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing?